As we start a new year, a change of job or career could be at the top of your to-do list. Well, the labour market here remains buoyant with unemployment at record lows, meaning that job hunters are likely to be in a strong position. A little earlier, I spoke to James Reed. He's chairman of the recruitment giant Reed. He's just written a new book called Life's Work, and I began by asking him about the labour market at the start of 2020.
We haven't seen an increase in activity since the election. Right. That isn't non-seasonal. Yeah. So we've seen a lot of increase in activity because it's January, but if you look back against last year, the activity levels are similar. So if you're looking at job seeking, we've had a massive influx of job seekers in January, up 90% on the average Monday in January. And we've had 45,000 new jobs posted on our site, but that's less than last year in terms of job numbers. So some concern about whether this year is going to be as good as last year at the moment.
Well, some would say actually that with the employment rate at 76.2%, which is a record, I mean, it hasn't really budged from that over the last few quarters. Some would say this is as good as it gets.
I think that's a possible argument, but I hope that's not the case, because there are a lot of people working in short hours jobs or low paid jobs, and I think we can do a lot better than this. And I think it's important that people move up in their skills and in their careers into better paid jobs, and that the economy raises its game in terms of productivity and output. So there's a lot more that can be accomplished this year.
And what about earnings? I mean, we've had earnings moving ahead of inflation for nearly 2 years now. Is that something that you see continuing throughout 2020?
That's slowed down a little, I think. That's my observation. I hope it does, because I think we deserve a pay rise as a country, because it's been a long time, you know, a 10-year period. If you look, earnings have not increased. So I hope earnings continue to rise, but it's too soon to say.
But what about Boris Johnson's pledge? Now he's been elected with a strong mandate for the next 5 years. He's talking about raising the national living wage pretty significantly. Is that going to distort the labour market in your view?
Well, very significantly if by the end of this Parliament it's £10.50. It will change it, potentially, yes. I mean, the caution there is you don't want people to lose their jobs because the minimum or the living wage has gone up too high. So I think they should look at that carefully and do it in steps. But I welcome the current increase. I think that's the right thing to do.
Of course, I mean, the national living wage and the level at which it's set has been taken away almost from evidence-based decision-making, hasn't it? I mean, it's become politicised.
It seems to have become increasingly political, and it's interesting because it's not the politicians who pay the wages, it's businesses that pay the wages, and it's businesses that need to be able to support that. At the moment, it's okay, but people need to keep a keen eye on that.
And what about these changes that the government is planning to make to self-employed contractors? Is that going to have a significant effect on permanent hiring, do you think?
What, the IR35 changes that you're talking about? It could do, and I think that needs to be looked at again. I think it's really important that that is reviewed, and there's talk of reviewing it, because it's not applied consistently across all businesses, and it's not simple enough. And so there are a lot of potential pitfalls for workers and for companies here that should be ironed out. I think a better job can be done for everyone involved by a thorough review of IR35.
So we've got a budget coming up on the 11th of March. What could Sajid Javid do to really put a tiger in the tank in terms of employment?
Well, you could have a look at IR35 again, because a lot of people want to be self-employed contractors and to run their own personal service companies. I mean, he's looking at taxation, I know, because it was in the manifesto, and national insurance. I think for lower paid workers, giving them a break on national insurance and taxation is a good idea, because that helps employers as well. And I think generally reviewing sort of unnecessary red tape.
Now, obviously the UK is set to leave on the EU on January the 31st. We then have this 11-month transition period. Do you think there's going to be a lot of noise about the kind of Brexit trade deal the UK gets with the EU? Is that going to put people off hiring, do you think?
I don't know. I mean, the election slogan was "Get Brexit Done." I would add the word "well" at the end. Get Brexit done well. And it's like any business strategy, it's how well executed it is. And there's a lot of work to be done this year to get a good Brexit. And you know, there's a lot of careful and thorough negotiation that needs to be done. It's really important for everyone that it's done well. And I think hirers, recruiters, employers are going to keep a keen eye on that.
Well, still to come on Ian King Live, why extra tutoring for children is a growth business.